You can now buy a flame-throwing robot dog for under $10,000. Let me say that again. If you go to throwflame.com, you can buy the Thermonator for $9,420. Nice. And it is a real flame-throwing robot dog like Spot from Boston Dynamics. I'm gonna go down here and show you a video from it. I like how they have all this other stuff showing off the sensors, and it's got this laser and it just comes through the darkness like the Predator and just starts absolutely blasting things and setting it on fire. This, ladies and gentlemen, is what the apocalypse looks like. This is this is absolutely insane. It's the first ever flame. It can jump. I didn't even watch it this far. It can jump. Okay, I'm having a breakdown here that this is a real product, but it is fueled by a gasoline or by napalm if you can get it, a 30-foot flamethrowing range, and importantly, you know, it has Wi-Fi and Bluetooth connectivity for remote control through a smartphone. I'll back it up a little bit. I think in here, do we have anybody? Now, we don't have video of anybody controlling it with a smartphone, but we do have images of it being controlled with a smartphone like it's a DJI drone. And what this is supposed to be for is wildlife control and prevention, agricultural management, ecological conservation, snow and ice removal. It would certainly do that. And then finally, entertainment and SFX. I do not know why we need a product like this. It is very cool. It is very like the cyberpunk bad version of futuristic. It's absolutely wild. And the crazy thing is, it's not even that expensive. If you live on West or East Coast, this is probably, I don't know, like 3 months rent. This is like the deposit you would have to put down to move into a nice apartment. And instead of that, you could get a flamethrower wielding dog that kicks everybody out of their apartments and you could just make it yours. I don't know, it's insane. I would love to have one of these. I could not possibly use one of these responsibly. That would just be beyond me. I would do something I would be like a supervillain overnight. But welcome to the future, ladies and gentlemen. It's official. Scientists have finally confirmed what's inside the moon. For decades, scientists have argued as to whether the lunar core is molten or solid, and conspiracy theorists have wondered if perhaps it's hollow. Movie makers have made such classic films as Moonfall, absolutely hilarious, by the way. I'd recommend you check it out, where Patrick Wilson and Halle Berry discovered that the moon is a sentient alien spacecraft with advanced technology in the center similar to Halo's Forerunners. And Halle Berry goes to the center of the moon and saves the world in this big blockbuster, hilarious Roland Emmerich style thing. But let's move back to the science. I just had to reference that. So a team based out of France decided to pull lunar seismic data from a variety of different studies and also use some of the lunar laser missions to sort of range find and detect density and depth to come up with a model of the inner surface of the moon. And what they discovered is that the interior of the moon is actually solid. It is not molten, but if you see this tiny white ring right here, it does have a liquid layer of some kind that doesn't appear to be molten, but rather just a regular liquid. So of course you have the crust, then you have a lot more different flavors of crust here, a little liquid layer, and then an insanely dense iron-like iron core, solid core. They don't know if it's iron, but they do know that it has roughly the same density of iron. So this is, I guess, it's solving some questions that we had. There are lunar quakes and lunar seismic activity, and the scientists believe that is mostly from heavier materials shifting down toward the center, and it doesn't necessarily have to have a molten core in order to be seismically active. Or was it aliens? Perhaps we'll never know, but I thought this was kind of a funny thing. Scientists have been leaning toward the solid core for the moon for a very long time, and it's nice to finally have some proof on it. Nature never ceases to amaze me, as thistle extract has been discovered to accelerate nerve regeneration by up to 29%. Scientists have been studying this plant for a long time for a whole wide variety of uses, including anti-inflammation, but this was a shocking discovery because thistle isn't exactly a rare plant. It isn't something that's hard to find. You might even have thistle in your backyard or nearby your house. You would think that every possible use would have already been explored, yet we're still finding uses. So in case you didn't know, when a human neuron is damaged, it has about 3 months to repair itself because the Schwann cells responsible for nerve regeneration stop providing support for after about 3 months. That's why if the injury goes on for long enough and it isn't healed quickly enough, it often leads to lifelong nerve pain, and there's not a lot that anybody can do about it. So scientists wanted to see what thistle can do to help, which is kind of amusing to me. And what they decided to do is, this is very cruel, crush the sciatic nerves of rats and mice and rabbits. So they intentionally injured animals. That makes me sad. And they give the doses, the animals doses either of senescen or parthenoleide, a little bit of a mouthful there. And basically senescen is a chemically similar compound from the same plant family, and parthenolide, well, God, is extracted from feverfew, has traditionally been used to treat a wide range of ailments. And what they decided to do is give these animals the various supplements to see which one of them repaired their nerves better. And in the animals that had a crushed sciatic nerve, God, I hate even reading that, substantial axon regeneration was seen with doses of intravenous senescen compared to the control groups. So the other stuff didn't work, but senescen seems to have increased nerve regeneration by approximately 29% in the animals. The animals recovered much, much better given that simple treatment. So what's cool about this is we've discovered that senescen it's a low cost, readily available. It can be oral, it can be intravenous, whatever. When somebody gets a nerve injury, they can immediately apply this. You can just go to the hospital, get this, get a prescription, whatever. And it's not a cure. It doesn't guarantee that your nerves grow back, but it does significantly increase your odds of recovery. It's one of those things like the earlier you start, the better, and it's super low cost. So, given replicable trials and some clinical testing on humans and things like that, this might be a sort of go-to step for nerve damage in the future, or at least to begin the process of recovery from nerve damage in the future. Mercedes-Benz becomes the first automaker to sell level 3 autonomous vehicles in the United States. And in case you're curious, level 3 autonomous means that the driver has no requirement to watch the road or really pay much attention when it's activated. This is getting closer to that true self-driving, and you can see a little screenshot of the inside of the vehicle right here, but the article is much, much neater. So we're going to scroll past the picture relatively quickly. You would think that Tesla's full self-driving beta would have this approval, but it actually does not. Mercedes beat them to the punch on this one, and the cars are only able to be legally sold in California and Nevada. The two states' DMVs had to give approval for the cars after some testing, and this Drive Pilot is a $2,500 per year subscription, so it is expensive. And what's neat about this is that they are, I guess you have a fantasy of always wanting to be able to use this in sort of any environment, right? But realistically, as we've seen with Tesla, that doesn't work. So the Drive Pilot will only work during the daytime when the weather is clear, in heavy traffic jams. This is actually better because it has other cars to sense and follow, and on specific pre-approved California and Nevada freeways, and when the car is traveling less than 40 miles per hour. That seems like a lot of restrictions. It seems very annoying, like maybe something that you don't want, but these are all safety restrictions because, again, this is an autopilot that you don't have to look at. If you want to play Minecraft on your phone or watch Netflix on the TV in the car, that's totally okay to do as long as you're meeting these conditions. These conditions are, at least for now, safety rails, and the company, instead of promising you some sort of Minority Report, iRobot, Back to the Future, self-driving autonomy, they're giving you something much more practical and saying that our car can perform well under these circumstances, which for me is a much higher level of trust than Tesla's, we can just kind of do anything. I think that's really cool. Yeah, the driver can play video games on the console while the car takes care of itself. And another thing that we talked about like years ago that Mercedes was planning to do, they added this second row of lights to the car. So the bottom ones are the necessary ones. The top ones are these turquoise lights. And the turquoise lights mean that an AI has taken over. So if you see a Mercedes-Benz and the turquoise lights are on, what that means is that the autopilot is doing its job. It's kind of a warning to you as a driver. And they're planning to go for level 4 autonomous driving, which I think is more what we would call full self-driving, by 2030, which is, again, a more practical goal. I can appreciate Mercedes-Benz for not lying to us, for just being straight up that they have stuff to work on and putting some safety rails in place. So good on them.